in a ballroom filled with diamonds, power, and pride. The billionaire shocked everyone. He refused to dance with a single soul. But just when the whispers grew louder, a maid walked in holding the hand of her little daughter. What happened next shattered every rule of high society and revealed a secret no one was prepared to face. The chandeliers of the New York Grand Regency Hotel glittered like frozen waterfalls, casting golden light over the most prestigious charity gala of the year. In the middle of the lavish ballroom, where gowns shimmered and tuxedos gleamed, a small commotion broke the perfect rhythm. Lorraine Whitmore, a 45-year-old socialite known for her sharp tongue and even sharper diamonds, cut through the music with a voice that silenced the crowd. "My God, what is this maid doing here?" Her words struck like glass shattering. Behind the velvet curtain, Clara Reynolds, 29, froze in terror. She had been finishing her cleaning shift when the event began earlier than scheduled, trapping her inside the ballroom as New York's elite gathered. Her navy blue housekeeping uniform stood out like an oil stain against the sea of sequins and silk. Two security guards looked ready to escort her out. Clara stepped forward, her cheeks burning. "I work here," she said softly, but her voice carried across the hushed room. "I'm part of the cleaning staff." Lorraine's laugh was cruel, echoing against the marble walls. "How convenient. Right when the wealthiest men in the country are assembled, you suddenly appear in uniform." Her words sliced into Clara's dignity. Clara's trembling hand instinctively clutched the silver butterfly brooch pinned to her chest, the only heirloom from her grandmother. Its cool metal steadied her nerves. Grandma always said, "A heart with courage never dances alone." From the far side of the ballroom, a new figure entered the circle forming around Clara. Magnolia Whitmore, 65, matriarch of the city's high society and Lorraine's confidant, moved with regal poise. Her black gown shimmered with understated authority. She raised her chin, eyes sweeping the room before landing on Clara. "This is inappropriate," Magnolia declared coldly. The statement wasn't just for Clara, it was for everyone watching. Clara's knees weakened, but she fought to stand tall. She only wanted to leave with her dignity intact. "Please," she whispered. "I just want to go," Lorraine smirked. "Of course you do." After getting exactly what you came for, the accusation stung. Clara took a step back, stumbled, and fell hard onto the polished marble floor. The brooch flew from her hand, skittering across the ballroom, its silver wings catching the light from the chandelier. A silence fell so heavy it seemed the room itself held its breath. At the edge of the crowd, David Whitmore, 32, heir to a billion-dollar empire, had been watching quietly. Something about the scene gnawed at him. His gaze locked on the brooch lying on the marble, and a flicker of recognition stirred in his memory. While the crowd parted, David strode forward. Magnolia's lips curved into a satisfied smile, certain her son would restore order and walk past the humiliated maid. But he did not pass. Instead, David bent down, picked up the brooch, and felt its faint warmth still lingering from Clara's hand. The butterfly's delicate wings sent a strange shiver through him, as though tied to a memory he could not place. He extended it toward her. "This is yours," Clara blinked, stunned. The kindness in his tone disarmed her completely. She reached for it, her fingers brushing his. A current of energy jolted between them, electric, undeniable. "Thank you," she whispered. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the glittering ballroom, the crowd, even the music faded into silence. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice low but steady. "Clara." The name seemed to echo in his mind, as if it belonged not just to the present, but to a memory buried deep within him. Before Magnolia could intervene, David extended his hand, not to give her the brooch this time, but to help her up. Clara hesitated, then placed her trembling hand in his. And in that simple touch, the night took a turn that would haunt everyone who witnessed it. Clara tried to rise on her own, but her legs betrayed her. She stumbled again, and before she could fall, David's arm caught her firmly, holding her upright. His hand was steady, warm, and strangely protective. Gasps rippled through the ballroom. To the wealthy patrons of the gala, the sight was nothing short of scandalous. The heir to one of America's most powerful families helping a maid in front of 200 witnesses. David. Magnolia's voice cut like ice. She stepped forward, her jewels glinting under the lights. This is beneath you. We have commitments. But David ignored her, his gaze fixed only on Clara. Are you all right? He asked. I'm fine, Clara whispered, though her trembling hands betrayed her. I should go. She tried to slip away, but David's voice followed, urgent, almost pleading. Wait, please. Don't leave yet. The desperation in his tone startled her. Clara froze, torn between fear and something she could not name. I can't stay. My daughter is waiting for me. Her words seemed to strike him harder than anything else had. Your daughter? His voice faltered. What's her name? Clara hesitated. The room was still watching, eyes burning into her, but she whispered anyway. Luna. The name sent a chill down David's spine. His pulse quickened, and flashes of forgotten memories clawed their way to the surface. A young woman's laughter, promises whispered under starlight, and a name once spoken in hope. If it's a girl, Luna, like the moon that always guides us. The chandelier above seemed to sway with the weight of revelation. Lorraine stepped closer, her eyes glinting with cruel delight. What a touching little story. A maid with a daughter named Luna. How very poetic. Her words dripped with venom, meant to humiliate. But David didn't hear her. His entire world had narrowed to Clara, the way her lips trembled, the way her eyes shimmered with unspoken pain. Something inside him broke free. Against every rule of the elite world he belonged to, he extended his hand, not to help her stand this time, but with an invitation no one could have expected. Clara, he said, his voice carrying across the ballroom, may I have this dance? The room froze. Waiters halted mid-step, trays suspended. Socialites stiffened, horrified. Cell phones lifted, ready to record what was about to become a headline. Clara's breath caught in her chest. She stared at his hand, afraid it was a trap, a cruel trick. I can't, she murmured, shaking her head. Please, David insisted, his tone urgent, vulnerable in a way that disarmed her defenses. Just one dance. For reasons I can't explain. I need this, her heart pounded. Against her better judgment, Clara's hand trembling, hesitant rose and touched his. The orchestra, confused, faltered before sliding into a hesitant waltz. And as the music swelled, Clara's body remembered something she had long buried. She moved with effortless grace, her steps light, her posture regal. The plain navy uniform could not disguise the poise of someone who once trained, once dreamed of stages and applause. David guided her carefully, astonished at the way she flowed across the floor. You've danced before, he murmured. A long time ago, she admitted, her voice barely audible over the music. For the first time in years, she let herself breathe, let herself remember the girl she once was. Around them, shock deepened. Whispers hissed. A wealthy heiress stormed toward the exit in outrage. Phones captured every second, the billionaire heir and the maid spinning beneath the glittering chandeliers like characters in a forbidden fairy tale. Clara closed her eyes, surrendering for a moment to the music. Her grandmother's words echoed, whoever carries courage in their heart never dances alone. But when she opened her eyes again, she found David studying her with an intensity that rattled her soul. His gaze traced her smile, her eyes, the way her head tilted, recognition dawning like a storm breaking. You, he whispered. Your name. It wasn't always Clara, was it? The words pierced her like lightning. She stumbled, nearly breaking the rhythm. Fear flashed across her face. I need to leave, she said abruptly, trying to pull away. "Clara." His voice was desperate now, his grip gentle but unyielding. "Clarinha." The old nickname fell from his lips, a name no one had spoken to her in 8 long years. Clara froze, the music collapsing around her. Her heart stopped cold. "How do you know that name?" she demanded, her voice shaking. David's eyes widened, recognition dawning fully. "Oh my God," he whispered, his voice cracking. "It's you. It's really you." Panic flooded her veins. "No," she gasped, backing away, tearing her hand from his. "This isn't happening. Not now. Not like this." And before anyone could stop her, Clara turned and fled the ballroom, leaving David standing alone in the spotlight, his heart racing with the terrifying certainty the woman he had lost 8 years ago had just returned. The ballroom erupted the moment Clara vanished through the grand doors. Gasps turned into murmurs, murmurs into frantic whispers. Dozens of phones remained lifted, recording the scandalous sight of a billionaire heir asking the maid to dance, then calling her by an intimate nickname that no stranger should know. Magnolia's smile never faltered, but beneath the mask her jaw tightened. She glided across the floor toward her son, every step precise, every movement calculated. "What a spectacle, David," she said coolly, her voice low enough for him alone but sharp enough to cut. Utterly unnecessary, but David wasn't listening. He stood frozen in the center of the ballroom, chest heaving. The image of Clara's face burned into his memory. 8 years of emptiness, of unanswered questions, of loss he had been told was suddenly shattered by the sight of her eyes, her trembling lips, the name he hadn't spoken aloud since she disappeared. "She's alive," he murmured, almost to himself. "And she has a daughter." Magnolia's lashes flickered, but her voice remained calm. "You're imagining things. That woman is no one. Forget her." "No." David turned, eyes blazing with a resolve that unsettled even his mother. "She's Clarinha. And if what I just heard is true, she has a little girl, Luna, 7 years old." The calculation in Magnolia's eyes faltered, if only for a heartbeat. But she recovered quickly. "Even if it's true, it doesn't concern you. You have responsibilities. An empire to lead, a legacy to uphold." David's gaze hardened. "If she's really the woman I lost, and that child is mine, then I'm already 8 years late. 8 years stolen from me." Magnolia stiffened. "You are not thinking clearly. For the first time in years." "I am." He brushed past her, ignoring the flashes of cameras and the scandalized stares of New York's elite. Outside, the cool night air hit his face like a slap. He scanned the glittering street, desperate for a glimpse of Clara, but she was gone. Across town, Clara was already running through the dimly lit streets, her shoes slapping against the pavement. Tears blurred her vision. She didn't stop until her lungs burned. When she finally reached her modest apartment, she fumbled with the keys, hands shaking. Inside, the soft glow of a lamp illuminated the small living room. On the couch sat Mrs. Maria, her elderly babysitter, knitting calmly. From the bedroom came the faint sound of a child's breathing. "Clara, what happened?" Mrs. Maria asked, concerned. "I'm fine," Clara lied, pressing her back to the door as though holding it shut against the world. But her heart betrayed her. The memory of David's touch, the sound of his voice calling her Clarinha, echoed mercilessly. 8 years of silence had ended in one impossible moment. Later that night, as she tucked her daughter into bed, Luna stirred and whispered, "Mommy?" "Yes, sweetheart." Clara brushed the little girl's hair back from her forehead. "I had a dream tonight," Luna said drowsily. "I saw a man dancing with you. He smiled just like me." Clara froze, her blood running cold. "It was just a dream, baby," she whispered, kissing her forehead. "Go back to sleep." But when Clara turned away, her eyes filled with tears. Because dreams, she knew, were sometimes born from truths too powerful to stay buried. Meanwhile, in the penthouse of the Whitmore Tower, David stood by the window overlooking the city skyline. His phone pressed to his ear. "Marcos," he said, voice tight. "I need you to find someone. Her name is Clara Reynolds. She works at the Grand Regency. She has a daughter named Luna." His assistant hesitated. "Is this business-related?" "No," David said firmly, staring at the moon as it glowed high above Manhattan. "This is personal. Very personal." When he hung up, he whispered to the night sky, to the memory of the girl he had lost and the child he had never known existed. "Clarina, what did they do to you? What did they do to us?" The city glittered beneath him, unaware that a storm 8 years in the making had just been unleashed. Asterisk, asterisk. 3 sleepless nights passed. David haunted his penthouse like a restless spirit, pacing between boardroom documents he couldn't read and old memories that refused to die. The gala had gone viral. Every news site, every gossip column, every social feed replayed the moment when America's most eligible heir danced with a hotel maid. But for David, the scandal meant nothing. All that mattered was Clara. On the 4th morning, Marcos finally entered his office carrying the thick folder. His hesitation spoke volumes. "I found her," Marcos said quietly. David dropped the pen he had been pretending to use. "Where?" Marcos exhaled slowly. "She was dismissed from the Grand Regency Hotel yesterday. Official reason, budget cuts." But he looked uneasy. "The order came from the top, directly from the board. And before I could even begin searching, someone else had already pulled her file, someone with privileged access." David's jaw tightened. "My mother." Marcos didn't answer. He didn't need to. "Where is Clara now?" "East Side, an old building on Palm Street. She left early this morning looking for work. She's already tried 5 places. All told her the positions had just been filled." Marcos closed the folder, his voice grim. "It's not bad luck, sir. Someone is blocking her." David stood abruptly, shoving his chair back. He reached for his car keys, not for his Ferrari or Bentley, but for the gray Honda Civic he kept for anonymity. "This stays between us. No one else." "Yes, sir," Marcos replied. Across the city, Clara walked through the bustling streets, clutching a worn leather folder with her resume inside. Rejection had become routine. The 6th company gave the same answer as all the rest. Position already filled. Exhausted, she sank onto a bench in Republic Square. The autumn wind tugged at her hair as she dialed Mrs. Maria. "How's Luna?" Clara asked softly. "She's fine, Corita, but worried." "She asked why you cried in the shower last night." Clara closed her eyes. Her little girl always noticed everything. "Tell her mommy will fix it all." Mrs. Maria hesitated. "There's something else. Luna had another dream. She said the man was looking for something he lost long ago. She asked me if her father knows she exists." The words hit Clara like a blade. Her fingers tightened around the phone. "And what did you tell her?" "That her father lives far away." "But Clara," she said, "he didn't look far, he looked lost." Clara's throat constricted. She ended the call quickly, unable to bear more. When she lifted her head, her breath caught. Across the square, leaning against a lamppost, stood David. He wasn't in a tailored suit tonight, but even in his plain jacket and jeans, he carried the same air of command. His eyes, however, were not cold like the air the world knew. They were raw, searching, desperate, their gazes locked. Time collapsed. For Clara, it felt like staring at a ghost. For David, it was like looking at the part of his soul he'd been forced to bury. He began walking toward her, each step deliberate, as if afraid she might vanish again. "Clarinha," he said softly when he reached her. The nickname made her tremble, but not with longing this time, with anger. "Don't call me that. We need to talk," he pleaded. "About what?" Her voice rose, sharp with years of unspoken pain. "About how you abandoned me while I was pregnant?" About how your mother paid me to disappear." David's face twisted, the accusation hitting him like a bullet. "What are you talking about? My mother did what? Don't you dare pretend," Clara snapped, eyes blazing. "For 8 years I told myself if this day ever came, you'd deny it. And here you are, acting like you don't know." The fury in her eyes nearly broke him. But there was no deceit in his. His shock was raw, his confusion painfully real. "I swear to you, I know nothing," he said, voice shaking. "All I know is you vanished overnight. One day you were there, and the next you were gone. I searched Clarina. I begged her for answers. She told me you aborted the baby, that you took money and left." Clara staggered back, her breath ragged. The ground beneath her seemed to shift. "She told you that?" "Yes," David said, his voice heavy with despair. "And I believed her, because you were gone." Tears blurred Clara's vision. For 8 years she had hated him, cursed at him, imagined him complicit. But now, "You really didn't know," she whispered, trembling. David stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I didn't, and now I find out you had a child. Our child. All this time." Clara pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. "I never told you. I discovered I was pregnant after I left. And then she came to me, your mother. She offered me money to disappear forever. Showed me pictures of you with another woman. Said you'd never claim a child with me." David's face drained of color. $50,000, Clara whispered bitterly. "That's what she thought we were worth." He shook his head, his voice breaking. "I never knew, if I had. If I had known, Clarina." "Stop calling me that," she snapped. Though her tears betrayed her, a heavy silence hung between them, 8 years of lies pressing down. Then David's voice dropped to a hoarse whisper. "Where is she? Where is our daughter?" Clara hesitated, torn between fear and the truth. "Her name is Luna," she said finally, her voice trembling. "She's 7. And yes, she's yours." The words detonated in the cool evening air. David staggered back, gripping the bench as though the ground might swallow him. "I have a daughter," he whispered. "And she grew up without me." He looked at Clara, anguish etched into every line of his face. "Please, let me meet her. Let me know her." Clara's heart ached, but fear clenched her tighter than hope. "It's not that simple," she whispered. "She'll ask where you've been. And I don't know how to explain that you didn't even know she existed." David's voice was raw, but resolute. "Then we'll explain it together. No more secrets, Clara. No more lies. I won't lose her. I won't lose you again." Clara's chest rose and fell, her heart pounding with the terror of hope. She had dreamed of this moment and dreaded it in equal measure. "Tomorrow," David said, his eyes burning with determination. "We'll go together. To her school. And I'll meet my daughter." For the first time in years, Clara saw in his eyes not just longing, but a father's certainty. And though fear still gripped her, a tiny dangerous flicker of hope lit inside her heart. The next afternoon, Clara stood at the edge of the schoolyard, her heart pounding so hard she thought the parents around her might hear it. Children's laughter filled the air, echoing against the brick walls of the modest elementary school. Mothers chatted in small groups, fathers checked their watches. To them it was just another dismissal hour, but for Clara, it was a crossroads. Beside her stood David, hands shoved into the pockets of his jacket, his usually confident posture replaced by nervous energy. His eyes scanned the playground as though searching for a ghost. He had faced investors, presidents, and the ruthless glare of Wall Street, but nothing had ever shaken him like the thought of meeting his daughter for the first time. Clara gripped her purse so tightly her knuckles turned white. "Remember what I told you," she whispered. "Don't push her. Don't overwhelm her. She doesn't know." David turned to her, his voice low and raw. "She is mine. She deserves to know me. I'll be careful, but I won't lie to her." Before Clara could reply, the school bell rang. The doors burst open, and children spilled into the yard, running toward their parents. Shouts and laughter filled the air. Then Clara saw her, Luna, 7 years old. Dark brown hair that caught the afternoon sun, her small backpack bouncing against her shoulders. She was holding hands with a friend, chatting animatedly, before her eyes found her mother at the gate. "Mommy!" she called, breaking into a run. Clara knelt, arms wide, and Luna barreled into her embrace. For a moment, everything else disappeared, until Luna pulled back slightly and noticed the tall man standing just behind her mother, her brow furrowed. She clutched Clara's sleeve. "Who's that?" Clara's throat tightened. Before she could answer, David slowly crouched to Luna's height. His hands trembled as he steadied his voice. "Hi, Luna," he said softly. "My name's David." The little girl tilted her head, studying him with wary curiosity. "Do you know my mom?" David's chest constricted. "Yes, I knew her a long time ago. We were very close." Luna glanced at Clara, who gave a tiny nod, encouraging her to listen. David swallowed hard. "Your mom told me you like to dance." Luna's eyes widened. "How do you know that?" "Because," David said with a small, trembling smile, "I once danced with your mom. And she was the most graceful dancer in the whole world." Luna giggled despite herself. "She is the best dancer." David's heart cracked and healed in the same instant. "I agree completely." Something in his tone made Luna take a cautious step closer. She squinted, then whispered with childlike honesty, "Your eyes? They look like mine." David felt tears sting his vision. He forced a smile. "That's because you got them from me." Clara's breath caught, tears filling her eyes as she watched her daughter unknowingly touch the truth. Luna looked back and forth between them, her small voice thoughtful. "Mommy, is he special?" Clara's lips trembled. Before she could respond, Luna reached out and slipped her small hand into David's. The warmth of that tiny touch nearly undid him. "Can you come with us?" Luna asked suddenly. "We're going to get ice cream." David looked at Clara, his eyes pleading. Clara hesitated, fear and hope waging war in her chest. Finally she gave a small nod. "Yes," David said softly, his voice breaking. "I'd love to." The three of them sat in a corner booth of a small neighborhood ice cream shop. Luna chattered about school, her favorite cartoons, the drawings she had made in art class. David hung on every word as though they were treasures. At one point, Luna licked her spoon and asked innocently, "Do you have kids too, David?" The question hit him like a blade. He glanced at Clara, who looked just as stricken. "No," he said gently. "I only have you." Luna tilted her head, confused. "But I just met you." Clara's hand tightened on her spoon. Before David could stumble through an explanation, Luna added in a whisper, "But it feels like I know you already." David's heart swelled with grief and wonder. He reached across the table, his hand brushing Clara's, their eyes locked full of years lost, and a future uncertain. In that tiny shop, with melted chocolate ice cream dripping down Luna's chin, a fragile truth began to take root. A family long broken was beginning, piece by piece, to find its way back together. The following week unfolded like a fragile dream. For the first time in 7 years, Clara allowed herself to imagine a life where Luna didn't grow up fatherless. David visited them every evening after work, sometimes bringing simple groceries, sometimes just sitting at the kitchen table, listening to Luna talk about her school projects. Each visit drew them closer together. The shadow still lingered between Clara and David. One evening, as Luna colored at the coffee table, Clara and David stood by the small kitchen window. The city lights flickered outside, but inside the apartment, the air was heavy with truths yet unsaid. "She's everything I missed," David whispered, watching his daughter hum softly to herself. "Her first steps, her first words, her birthdays, I wasn't there. And I'll never forgive myself for that." Clara turned to him, her voice low but firm. You can't blame yourself for something you didn't know. But you can decide what to do now. David nodded slowly. Then I'll be here. For her, for you. Every day. Before Clara could respond, her phone rang. Unknown number. She frowned, answered and froze. Mrs. Reynolds? This is Dr. Regina from the Child Welfare Office. We've received a report concerning Luna's home environment. We'll need to schedule a home visit later this week. Clara's chest tightened. A report? What kind of report? I can't discuss details over the phone, the voice replied coolly. We'll see you Friday. When she hung up, her face was pale. What is it? David demanded. They're sending child services, Clara whispered. Someone reported us. David's stomach dropped. He didn't need to ask who was behind it. His mother's hand was all over this. That night, David drove to his mother's estate, fury barely restrained. Magnolia waited in the rose garden, pruning clippers in hand, her expression serene. You've gone too far, David said, his voice raw. Stay out of Clara's life. Stay away from Luna. Magnolia didn't flinch. I'm protecting my family. That child deserves a stable future, something Clara cannot provide. You mean something you can control? David snapped. You did this 8 years ago, didn't you? Paid her to disappear. Showed her lies. Stole our life. Magnolia's hand stilled on the roses. For a fleeting moment, guilt flickered across her face, but it vanished as quickly as it came. I saved you from ruin, David, and I'll do it again if I must. You didn't save me, he growled. You destroyed me. Friday came too soon. Clara had scrubbed the apartment spotless, lined Luna's books neatly on the shelf, and prepared a modest dinner she could barely afford. Yet when the social workers arrived, their pens and clipboards recorded every flaw: the empty fridge, the second-hand furniture, the fact that Clara worked irregular hours. In the bedroom, the child psychologist sat with Luna. Do you like living here? She asked gently. Yes, Luna said proudly. It's small, but it's full of love. And your mommy, how does she act when she's sad? Luna lowered her voice. She cries in the shower. She thinks I don't hear. But I do. The psychologist scribbled quickly. By the time they left, Clara was shaking. They don't see us, she whispered to David. They only see what we don't have. David pulled her close. Then we'll fight. With everything we have. I'm not letting them take her. The next day, Clara received a letter. 30 days of monitoring. If stability cannot be proven, Luna may face temporary removal. Clara collapsed onto the couch, tears streaming. They're going to take her. David knelt before her, gripping her hands. No, they won't. Because this time I'm here. We'll fight them together. And I'll expose my mother for what she's done. Clara looked at him through her tears. And if we lose? David's voice trembled, but his resolve did not. Then I'll tear down every wall, burn every bridge, until we win her back. Because Luna is our daughter. And because I lost you once, I won't lose you both again. That night, long after Luna had fallen asleep, Clara stepped quietly onto the small balcony. The city stretched endlessly before her. She felt David join her, his hand brushing against hers. For a moment, silence reigned. Then Clara whispered, Do you believe in second chances? David's answer came without hesitation. I believe in us. Even if we have to fight the whole world to prove it. Clara's heart trembled. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to lean against him. Not fully, not yet. But enough. Inside, Luna stirred in her sleep, a faint smile on her face. As if, even in dreams, she felt the family she had always drawn in her notebooks, beginning to form for real. And somewhere across the city, Magnolia stared out her own window, her reflection caught in the glass. Her empire was vast, her power unmatched, but for the first time, fear crept in. because she knew her son's heart was no longer hers to control, and the battle for Luna had only just begun.